Good afternoon again. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Herb Hussey. No, I'm not in the canoe. Um, I chose this picture not only because my son is in the third seat, but this picture of an inter-island canoe is it's indicative of what retirement planning can be. And if you look at this picture, you think, okay, you have six guys paddling a canoe. The reality is that if they're going from point A to point B, there has to be somebody steering. And in Hawaii inter-island canoes, the person steering is the last person in the canoe. The rest of the people are powering the canoe forward. They are the ones that are driving the craft, but the person in the back is the one steering, and he's the one that has the experience to get that crew safely from point A to point B. Um, Retirement planning is a very important component of people's lives, and one of the things that people tend to think about is, yeah, I know it's important, but in my practice, which I've been working in since 1990, is to answer two questions, which is why is retirement planning important, and why is it important to do it now more than any other time. The why part is maybe counterintuitive, and the why part has to do with this: we're going to live a long time. Most of you on this seminar may be familiar with the rules and regulations and enrollment requirements for Medicare. Now, let's think back on that. The first Medicare group to enroll in Part A of Medicare were 65 in 1965. So if we do the math on that, we know that they were born in 1900. So when we look at that group of people who were the first people to enroll in Medicare, all right, we see something quite interesting. The life expectancy of a male born in 1900 is not even 47 years. For a female born in 1900, it's a little over 48 years. When they enrolled in Medicare in 1965, then we realized that they were way past their life expectancy. And that's one of the unique things about Medicare, was the original group to enroll in Medicare, the expectation was that they would be in Medicare 36 months. But that group and that person enrolling in Medicare is now a very significantly different person. If you were born in 1990, all right, then you'll see that the life expectancy of a male is a little over 71 and 78 for a female. Many of us know people who are in their 90s or hundreds and still going strong, still on Medicare. So the good news is you're going to live a long time. You're going to live a long time. But the bad news is pretty much the same thing. When you live a long time, things can become complicated. If our goal was to retire at 60, what are we going to do from 60 to 90? That's a 30-year span. And for many people, that's not something they planned on. All right, they plan on getting to a point where they are, quote, retired, but they don't know what happens after that. And some of the things that occur are complicating for them, and sometimes disturbing. I go to McDonald's every morning because that's my place. And when I go through drive-through every morning, I see this: a 17-year-old and a 71-year-old both working for $17 an hour. I can understand a 17-year-old, but I am worried about the 71-year-old who at 71 years old is working for $17 an hour because they don't have enough money. All right. We also know that if the longer you live, and like we were talking about Medicare, all right, that's more years in Medicare. The original plan was for 36 months. Now many people are in Medicare for 30 years. And as they age, issues like cognition issues, dementia, Alzheimer's, and all of the rest become more and more evident, and the need for a long-term care strategy becomes more and more important. So the good news, you're going to live a long time. The bad news, kind of the same thing. So it's this dichotomy that our population is in now. If we think about it like that, then we realize that rather than a canoe slicing through the ocean, being driven to a particular point that they want to go, and they're doing it safely and with great dispatch, sometimes retirement and retirement planning looks like this. This, for a lot of people, is really what it looks like. Complicated, a little dangerous, and kind of dark. And that's the role of the planner, is to shine that light forward so that these people have a path forward that they need at this very important period in their lives. Why do we need to do this now? Why don't we just kind of like say, okay, well, we'll figure it out, we'll go along. Why do we need to do this now? And the reason why is this. When we look at the transition from working years to retirement years, okay, what happens is we realize that it's very much like a person speeding towards an intersection that they've never been through before, right? And they don't know which way the traffic is going and what they need to do. And as they get there, what happens is they find out they can't make any mistakes. There are no do-overs. And this is where I'm going to take a few minutes and walk through each case here, all right? And at the end of these 4 cases, I'm going to ask you one question. I'm going to ask you, how many of these cases can you answer for yourself and for your family and friends, okay? So I'm going to go through them. If you want to join in and chat with me, you know, I'm happy to do that. If you want to have a discussion, I'm happy to do that. But if you for the sake of time, let me just kind of go through them. I would tell you this, each one of these 4 cases are real. I've seen these. They happened right in front of me, all right? And it can be disconcerting and troubling. But let's go through the first one, which is Phil from the bank. This is a question about Social Security timing. Phil retires at 63 from a local bank, and you know, he's past 62, so he starts taking Social Security right away. And after being retired for a couple of years, he decides, you know what, I need more money. So he goes back to the bank, gets his full-time job back. And because he's gotten Social Security, he continues to receive it, right? 2 years later, after he's been back at the bank, he gets a letter from Social Security, and it's bad news. Any idea on what the bad news is? The bad news is this. It had to do with the timing. He started Social Security at the earliest possible point, past age 62, but he started it earlier than his full retirement age, which is probably 67. So he's in that gap period at the very beginning. He starts. When you start Social Security at that point, not only are you taking a permanent reduction in your Social Security benefit, what happens is that there's an income cap. If you have, you know, jobs that you're doing around the house or being a handyman, that's great. But what Phil does is he goes back to the bank and gets his full-time job back. When he does that, he pierces through that income ceiling. Now he's making too much money. And then 2 years later, after his friends at the IRS tell their friends at Social Security, he's going to get a letter. And the letter's going to tell him, hey, that's good that you're back at the bank, which we could see. Here's your really nice job thing and tax return. But because you were receiving a higher salary, okay, over what you should have because you started early, the money that you got over that, we've calculated, and you got to give it back. Think on that for a moment. He's going to have to give back his Social Security benefits because he started early and went through that income ceiling. Okay? That's not good news. The reason I know this is that this is actually a friend of mine came back to me after they got the letter and needed to withdraw money from their IRA to pay back their Social Security money. Okay, let's go to case 2. The traveling teacher. This one is about Medicare. Now, you're all Medicare experienced, so this should make sense to you really right off the bat. Teacher retires from a school district at 66. She's on Medicare Part A. She decides to go to Japan to teach for 2 years. She doesn't apply for Part B because she has she has medical through her employer in Japan. So she's there for 2 years, and when she comes back, she now applies for Part B. She already has Part A. But when she applies for Part B, she's going to get some bad news. And the bad news is what? It's that she applied for Part B late. We know that she should have applied for Part B when she had already where she had already enrolled in Part A and qualified for B. And she qualified for B when she lost her coverage under her previous employer. She didn't do that. She went to Japan because that's what she wanted to do. And because she's now back and she's applying for Part B, she will get it, but there's a permanent penalty. And that's the key word. The word there is permanent. That penalty is going to be with her all the time, okay, because she enrolled late. If she had been instructed properly, guided properly when she retired from the school district, she should have applied for Medicare Part B then and done what she needed to do so that she could go to Japan. But she was late in applying for Part B. Okay, this one was unfortunate because in her school district, the school district pays for the Part B premium as part of their retirement benefits. And in this case, the school district will pay for the premium, but not the penalty. All right. Number 3. This one occurred right in front of me. I saw this in real life. And a gentleman opened up an IRA account for, I believe, around $90,000. He's the account owner. He passes away. He selects his adult daughter as the primary beneficiary, and there is no contingent. In other words, the money has to go only to her. All right. The dad passes away. The mom and the daughter, the adult daughter, come into the bank to discuss this. All right. At the meeting, I'm there because I had taken care of one of the other accounts that the dad had. All right. But this account that we're talking about was open at the branch level. So I'm sitting next to the branch manager. He's flipping through papers. And I said, what's going on? And he says, the beneficiary is non-spousal. Now, there are certain terms of art in the practice that are important. When you hear the term non-spousal beneficiary, it means that the spouse is not the wife. It's someone else. That's going to create issues because the taxation is either due then or on a specific timeline. The daughter is the beneficiary. The daughter knows that mom needs the money, and she says, you know what? My mom needs the money. I'll just sign the check over to her. What actually is going to happen is this. The daughter is going to receive the check made out to the daughter. She can cash it, of course, all right, and give it to the mom, but only after the withholdings are done. That $90,000 is taxable to the daughter as income. If the mother were the beneficiary, the mother would inherit the dad's IRA. That would not be taxable at that point. It would be taxable over the years as the wife withdrew the funds. So this is a scenario where they thought the family had $90,000 that was going to go to the mom. It turned out what was really going to the mom was something closer to $60,000 after the taxes were taken out. This is a situation where a conversation with the client about where they really wanted the money to go would have been very helpful. It wasn't done, and this is actually what's going to happen. The taxes will be paid first. Now, I hope these 3 cases are interesting. The 4th one, for me, was terrifying, and this is really something that for a long time I worried about. This case. Take a moment and read this. This happens more often than we realize, and it happens a lot in school districts. See, school districts, when they retire, they set a retirement date. It's usually like the 1st of the month. Now, the 1st of the month can be any day in the week, but it's usually the 1st of the month. And in this particular case, the first of the month was a Monday. The school is not open Saturday or Sunday. So to help that retiree out, okay, he signs off and ends his work career Friday. His end of service, he separates from service on Friday, and he thinks, I'm going to just, relax, have a short 2-day vacation, and on Monday morning I'm going to wake up and I'm going to be a retiree. It didn't happen like that. Over the weekend, he was seriously injured. And in that case, we had to figure out some stuff, some very serious things. First one is, what is his status? In your mind, is he an employee or a retiree? Answer that for yourself. The actual answer, neither. He separated from service on Friday. He's supposed to retire on Monday, and he's seriously injured over the weekend. He's neither an employee nor a retiree. What does that mean? He has no medical. Think on that for a moment and the implications of this. He has no medical. And if he has to sign off on anything Monday to start his pension, he can't because he's seriously injured. Who sorts this out? The first 3 cases, the teacher that travels or goes away for 2 years, so that's a Medicare issue. The IRA and the Medicare piece, all right, those 3, those are federal. This one, this is state. The person that sorts this out is a judge. And it comes down to what the rules are in that jurisdiction about this situation. When this happened here, all right, the family went to the state retirement system, and the retirement system said, we cannot make this determination. They went to family court. Family court initially was going to grant a guardianship. When they realized the person was very, very seriously issued, that was changed to a conservatorship. They were granted conservatorship within a matter of a few minutes because they happened to know the judge and they realized the complexity of the situation, and the person was able to retire and still receive a pension. But I don't know what happened to the medical. I believe once they were retired that they could be covered under the medical plan, but I wasn't sure. This scenario, this last one, nobody thinks can happen. I've seen it. And this is why it is so critical for people when they think about their retirement, not only to think about the money, but okay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to travel, all that kind of stuff. The assumption we all make is that everything is going to be great from day to day. Sometimes it's not. So this idea of being a retirement planner, it's not about selling a product. You will sell a product and you'll be compensated very well. It's not about, telling people what they should do. You will listen carefully to what people want to do. Your job in a conversation with the customer is to see the path they're going to take and tell them where the nooks and crannies are so that they don't hurt themselves badly or their families as they go down the road. It is not a job, it is a profession, all right? Because you become that person that they rely on. This is a job that doesn't require securities licensing. I don't have one of those. I've never had it. I leave all of that excitement to friends. All right. I carry a life and health license, and that's all I have. Right. I've been doing this in Hawaii, in my area since 1990, as I mentioned, initially for 15 years at a bank. That's why that story about the family coming in with the IRA, that happened while I was at the bank. After 15 years of being the senior planner for a bank here, I started my own practice, and I have one client. My client is the person who works for the state of Hawaii. So that's what I do. If this is something, when you look at these four cases, if this is something where you say to yourself, I didn't know that, I didn't know any of these things, all right, realize this. If you looked at those four cases and you said, I didn't know that, well, neither do your clients and neither do your friends. They didn't. If you don't know that, they don't know it either. My question to you is, do you want to help them? Or, who is going to help them? All right. They do need the help to get through this time. All right. If you would like to work on this area, National Life Group, okay, used to be called LSW. That's how they were branded before. There's opportunities to work in the teacher market in the Carolinas. And you can look at that, and all of it is there, right? This is something that is for Messer agents only. My job is the trainer. Okay, my job is to help train people to do this. It is not a slam dunk thing. Today we turn around and tomorrow you're in a school. It is not like that. If you talk to the guys that are actually going through training now, the training is important, the practice is important, and they have to be ready in order to do this. So it takes some time. All right. Will you make money? Yes. Again, though, it's not about selling stuff. It's about helping people to do things that they really need to do. If you are interested, okay, we can make that happen. We can do that. Join the Messer retirement planning team. Talk to the guys at Messer, and I will work with you to get this done. If we work at it together, then our families and our friends and our associates have a better future. All right. And that's what we want, is to have a future that we understand and works well for us and our families. All right. I'm done. Questions?
Thank you, Herb. I'll jump in real quick, and then we can let Jacob let us know if there's any questions. But I just want to reiterate that Herb has developed a system for serving people, educators, people who work in the public school systems for decades. And he's mastered that craft. And again, he's done really well with it. He's been one of our top annuity and life agents for a very long time. And great person to work with. And as it pertains to training in general, he really does well. And he's a great communicator. He's a great helper. He's a great educator. So the opportunity is great.
Not good looking.
So this is kind of a rollout opportunity as it pertains to the Messer agent distribution in North and South Carolina. So you would be on the forefront of this early opportunity. But like Herb said, it would take time. It would take willingness to go through certain trainings, to be educated, all of that. So we're excited about this opportunity. We think it's going to do real well, and we're very thankful for her to help us in this way. So Jacob, do we have any questions in the chat feature?
Yeah, we got one question. How much is the class?
How much is the class?
Herb, you want to answer that?
I mean, how much do we charge?
Yeah, it's free.
It's free.
Yeah.
And
what you're going to pay is going to be the work and effort you put into the training and the learning process.
And then she says, who do I call?
Troy.
Yeah. So if you want to call my direct department number, that if you want to write this down, it's 704-527-1211. And we'll definitely make note of those who have attended and have some type of follow-up action to get a gauge of your interest level. But yeah, reach out to me and I can get you connected with this training program.
Troy, can you repeat that number one more time for me, please?
Sure. 704-527-1211.
All right, that looks like that's it.
Well, thank you everyone for being with us today. We'll be sure to follow up with you if you don't follow up with us first. Herb, thanks for your time. Sal and Mike, good to see you up on here. Sal and Mike are part of the program, part of the early ones of the program, and going through the training, and we're very excited about it.
Thank you, guys.